Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Raul Falla.
And Raul Falla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing League GT Pro Trophy. This is season 2 and we're heading to the Detroit Grand Prix circuit, the Belle circuit here in the USA. It's Andrew Thompson and myself, David Whitehouse, in the commentary box, and Luis Arai in the production box, providing us with all the action and all the replays. So Andy, Belle Isle, not a circuit which you know well, as we've just discussed before we've come on air. So what are you sort of expecting from your first view of the circuit?
Yeah, good evening, Dave. Good evening, viewers. Yeah, I don't know this circuit very well. My experience is literally 0 laps around this track. Watching a lot of the practice, and I think I realised why I've gone 0 laps around this place, because the course is extremely tight. You know, you've got to have real good car control going around here, because literally there's just no runoff spaces. So you make a mistake and you're certainly going to be wall surfing in this race. But also, you know, from that, it's going to be vitally important for these drivers to get at the top of the standings within the qualifying, because if a car in front of you has incidents going around these tight bends, it could cause a little bit of a roadblock down the rest of the field. So very imperative that they get a good timing out on the qualifying.
Yeah, there's a lot of blind bends around the Detroit circuit. You're looking at one of the main overtaking points there, but Roger Christensen is going round. That's down at turn number 3, and there's another long straight, which I call it a straight. It's got a couple of bends in it, but it'll do. It's a straight, and there's a large braking zone at the end of there, which is possible. So, first of all, I think we should look at the championship standings, and I'll leave Andy to go through them.
Yeah, definitely. So, we do have the drop score applied to the season already. We're only into round number 4 here, so only 3 rounds currently scored, but we've seen Kevin Havertz have a commanding last 2 races. Obviously, the first race in Red Bull had a bit of a poor qualifying start, ended up in 16th overall, was fighting at one stage for P8, but had a bit of an incident in the last couple of corners of the last lap that put pay to his race. So that's very much his drop round going to be for the season. So 2 first places gives Kieran Havaz the championship lead at the moment with a maximum 140 points. Closely followed by Theobald Prevost in second place, who has a first and second to his name. So just tightly behind Kevin Heraz at the moment in second. In third place, Lucas Lang, Mr. Consistent at the moment, and our top Porsche driver with 2 third place finishes, giving him 116 points, and that's your top 3. Miravan in 4th, Thomas Ardens in 5th, Thomas Gover in 6th, Carl Winkler 7th, Alvan Rask Olsen in 8th, Thomas Wangen in 9th, and Jeremy Basadu is rounds out your top 10. But you can see in the points there, extremely close from, say, 4th place down, all the way down to 11th, so all to still play for in the championship. And nothing's over till it's over, because obviously the drop rounds that some of the guys have had, then they're on a knife edge if they have a poor round, but they'll score low within that round. So still all to play for. A 9-round season in Pro Season 2. So still plenty of rounds to go, but very early stages at the moment. But Kerem Havaz certainly showing his form at the moment at the top of the grid with 2 race wins.
Yeah, and just going through that order which you were going through, we can see Thomas Culliver in 6th place on 100 points. That could have been a few more last time out after qualifying on front row and not making the start of a race.
Yeah, terrible. You know, I think he actually was. I think he was second, wasn't he? I believe he was second in there. Got it on the last lap of qualifying, and then for some reason he must have had a computer failure because he didn't take the grid, and obviously didn't take the race. So, yeah, exactly that, isn't it? It's a bit of an unfortunate error for. Well, not even an error, a hardware failure, which obviously in real life we have mechanical failures. And in the digital world, we have hardware failures, and he certainly had one of them in Daytona last time out. But really looking forward to this race. Completely different style of racing to the first 3 rounds, where we had wide open spaces like the Red Bull Ring, Daytona, and then this one's a real tight track. So it's going to be a very much more car control in this to make sure you don't put it into a wall. But the Ferrari should do quite well here, because we know that they are very good at the late braking, and there's like you said, a lot of tight turns on this track. So I think the Porsche will do well. But at the moment, obviously, we have Roger Christensen, who's currently our pole sitter with Lucas Lang, who obviously last week in the interview says he was really looking forward to this track. So it'll be interesting to see how Lucas does in this round.
Yeah, Lucas Lang, the top Porsche driver so far. I can tell you this much, that Ferrari won't do very well tonight, because there is no Ferraris in this race.
I know,
so that's one thing I can tell you. We have a mixture of Lamborghinis, BMWs and Porsches in the field. There is 1 Audi for Arvid Rasch Olsen. The driver moved across to the Audi later on. But looking at the qualifying session, we have 2 minutes remaining. Roger Christensen, late to the series, has really showed some speed over last week and this week in practice. He's just leading the way ahead of Prevost, who was lost his championship lead to Havertz last week. Lucas Lang in 3rd, Thomas Wangen running well in 4th, and Culliver, as we discussed last week, in 5th, Maivang 6th, Howlich 7th, Bonsuedo 8th, Rasch Olsen in that Audi in 9th, and Henrik rounds out the top 10. We do have 18 drivers in the lobby. Havertz without a time at this moment in time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Roger Christensen obviously came in on round number 3, so has obviously got a 0 score on his card. That's why we didn't see him in there. But for his first round out, myself and maybe some of the viewers are used to seeing Roger in the Porsche Cup series, extremely strong racer in that series and in that car, and trying his hand at a GT3 and proving that he's not a one-trick pony, and done exceptionally well, 5th in Daytona overall on his last outing, and at the moment is currently heading out at the top of his field, so certainly knows his cars on iRacing.
Yeah, as we look at Thibaut Prevost, the former championship leader, he comes through turns 1 and 2, then there's that little rise on the end of turn 2, and this long straight, which gives you a good chance of an overtake into turn 3. And if you can get through these first 3 or 4 corners in the start of the race, then the race will settle down. But knowing from sort of races I've seen around Detroit Belle Isle circuit, you have to get through lap 1. You know, half fields have been wiped out in races around Belle Isle before, so on the opening lap. So it's definitely keep it clean on the first lap, get through, settle in, and then keep your concentration for the whole hour.
I mean, it looks like one of them tracks that you do have to keep your concentration for. You know, you have a momentary lapse of concentration in any of the other rounds that we've had, and you'll probably find a decent runoff area and you can get back on. But as you can see on the channel, there's literally no runoff at all. The edge of the track is a wall. So if you get, I suppose one thing that would be good though for the drivers is, as long as they keep it out of the wall, they're not going to get any incident points. So I suppose that's one good thing about this track.
Yeah, it's a great thing for the drivers. I link it to like the old style 90s American F1 tracks where you have a few 90 degrees corners and a straight runoff, and that's the only runoff you have. As I'm now looking at qualifying, and Kerem Havertz has not set a time, so the championship leader will be starting at the back of the field, which could be so important around this circuit. But here comes Daniel Ferrer. He hasn't set a time at this moment in time. This will be his one and only lap. He runs to the line and he pops it into 11th place. So a good lap considering the pressure he was under to get the lap in. But that's the qualifying session over, and it is Roger Christensen for the RPC Esports Juniors who's on pole position, outdoing all of the RPC Esports senior team.
Yeah, so obviously Thomas Ardens did have a pit lane start for that qualifying, hence why we didn't see him set a line. But I'm not sure what happened to Kerem Havertz there. I don't even know if he went out. It looked like he did, but obviously got too many incident points and not managing to set a lap, hitting the wall maybe a few times. It's one of them tracks that's not very widely used on iRacing, so you know, maybe a bit of an oddball track for a lot of the drivers where the experience levels were maybe slightly lower than other tracks on iRacing.
Yeah, it always depends. I mean, he could have thought about it as, well, if I'm going to start mid-grid, I'd rather start at the back. As we see, the grid has come up there. In pole position, the Norwegian Roger Christensen with a time of 1:26.666. He'll be calling the devil in soon. Second place for Thibaut Prevost, only 64 thousandths of a second off the pole position. Arvid Rasch Olsen, only 85 thousandths off the pole position. Lucas Lang in 4th in that Porsche, which we expect to go well round here. Thomas Wangen in 5th, and Marit Paulich rounding out row 3. Thomas Culliver, Oyodin Movang, Jeremy Bonsuedo, David Henrik being your top 10. Daniel Ferrer in 11th, returning Carl Winkler in 12th. 13th for Sandro Massani. Brian Kroon, who we saw have a spin in that session, is 14th, just over a second off the pace. Anders Learjaw is 15th, Fernando Torres 16th, and Kerem Havertz will be starting from the back with Thomas Ahrens in the pit lane.
Going to be an interesting one for Kerem to see if he can. We've seen him do it in the Red Bull ring where he came from really far back to challenge at the top, but top 3 for Kerem will be extremely hard, certainly around this extremely tight track, because I'd imagine passing around this track will be at a premium, and you just got to pick and bide your time, and also probably be quite aggressive sometimes on the passing moves to try and get the pass done on this type of track. But obviously you got to take it within your stride, or else yeah, you'd be taking a trip to the wall, I think. And although the drivers do have a fast repair, you don't really want to be towing back to the pits, because pretty much you'll be at the back of the grid.
Yeah, you have to be really aggressive out of turn 2 to get the run down to turn 3, but there's that bump on the exit, a little, well, I say a little bump, it's a huge rise and fall out of the corner, which is hard when you gain the throttle on, but the Porsche pace car pulls away, and the GT field will not have to do a whole lap here. It's only a couple of corners, so it is Roger Christensen who leads away from his first pole position this season, alongside Prevost, who is too used to the front row at this rate. There's Lucas Lang and Rash Olsen on the second row. It's 4 different cars in the top 4, and Christensen's led the power down straight away and jumped Prevost to lead single file into turn number 1. I can see Wangen going up the inside of Lang, but there Lang will fight back on the switchback up over that rise I was talking about. And we've had a car. Lang, it's Lang. And who is that else involved? Wow. I think it's most of the field. And that has ended some races for some people in terms of moving forward. Everyone's got back going. I can see at least 2 Core Sim Racing 1 cars. It must be Winkler and Powlich. So at the front, it's Prevost who's got ahead of Christensen into turn 3, it must be. So maybe we'll pick up a replay of that later on. And Rash Olsen following suit. But then there's a bit of a gap because of that incident with Wangen chasing down the rest with Miravang close behind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That you know, during the qualifying, that you need to maximise your position in the qualifying, because exactly that. You know, a driver in front, I think it was Lang, that had the first initial spin and just caused a cascading effect. You literally saw the whole field behind in midfield just stop, because there was just no way through. You had the 2 Core Sim Racing guys, Thomas Hardens and Carl Winkler. You had Lucas Lang involved in that. You had Thomas Culver and David Hendrick as well. So some of the top guys there just finding themselves back. You know, Lucas Lang lost 10 places there. Thomas Culver, same again, 10 places. And David Hendrick lost 8 places. So, you know, some of the front runners in this race, because of that incident, are now finding themselves at the back. But what that has done is made a big gap, as we can see in the timing tower. The top 3 have managed to get slightly away, with Prevost taking the lead of the race and obviously overtaking Roger Christensen there, 0.7 a second behind him. Rash Olsen, the Norwegian, there in 3rd. So you got Norwegian 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It's 1.5 seconds. And then the big gap back to Miravang in 4.5 seconds. And we haven't even done a lap here, I don't believe, of the circuit, or maybe just onto the second lap. And already a 4-second gap. And then we see other big gaps from Boswaldo in 6 seconds behind. Then Kroon, who's probably the real big winner out of all that, up 8 places from where he started on green. Same with Anders Lilly Jordet and Kerem Havas as well. As we say, he might struggle, has managed to get up into P8. So, you know, some big winners in that incident, but also some very big losers.
Yeah, it's what I was saying at the start. You've got to keep your nose clean throughout that opening few corners. And Kerem Havertz, I mean, whether we'll get an on board with him later on, I'm not sure, but it'd be amazing to see how he avoided any of that from the back of the grid. We did see Thomas Wangen pop in the pits on the opening lap. He won't have took any fuel because he was really, really quick in there. So he popped in just to repair some damage, but he was alongside Lang. So I wonder if them two may have come together. We'll have to see later on. But Daniel Ferrer, 2 laps down already in the pits. He had to tow. So we'll just see whether we can get any replays of that from Louis. No, I've just heard possibly not. So, oh, here we go. Sorry, here we go. So this is Lang on the outside of Wangen, and I'm guessing. Oh, there's a little touch by Wangen, and that's what sent Lang round. So apologies to Lang. There is Powlich getting involved, and everybody. It's Spa 98 all over again.
Yeah, we just saw him there, just on the outside. Managed to literally stopped his car and then managed to see a gap and followed it through. But yeah, and it's so easy to do on the Sam on an opening lap of a race. Unfortunately, a slight little tap. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, this is a.
It-
So you
it
can
is
see there, yeah,
Hamilton,
Chris,
yeah.
yeah. So you can see that gap just open up like the Red Sea in front of him to get through on the very outside of that corner. But that whole 3/4, about 80% of that track was just covered by cars there at the moment. And pretty bad one to start off the race on, where you know you had some big names in there as well. So not the ideal start, but obviously early enough to fight back as long as there wasn't too much damage done on the cars. Didn't look like there was. It was just like a tap and a hit round, but pretty much just blocked the track off really.
Yeah, that's something that I was talking about with that lump in the track where it falls away out to turn 2. Normally out of a corner like that little bit of contact from Wangen wouldn't have done anything. Whereas because the car's offset over hill, as we see Anders Jordet fall down to, he spun out of 8th place down at turn number 3. We're on board with him now on the replay. Here he comes. Oh, and he's trying to defend from Havertz. Havertz goes up the inside, and is that contact? It is, but Havertz had the line. I think Anders Jordet was being a bit ambitious there.
Yeah, it certainly looked that. Although Anders was in front, I think Havan was outside. So we look here. So Havan coming up on the inside, just a little bit of a push out alongside him, going the inside line, and unfortunately just gets cut really short in there. Anders should have given maybe a little bit more space there to Havaz, but unfortunately Anders came off the worst to move down to P10. Is now in the battle for that with Fernando Torres, who's Mr. Consistent, just driving around there, but is currently up in P9th as well. So he profited from that lap 1 incident. So it's a battle between himself, Lily Jordet, Carl Winkler at the moment for that P9 position.
Yeah, great start, as you said before, for Brian Kroon as well, who's moved up to 6th place. It's the returning driver to Apex Racing League action. Came back, I think, a couple of rounds ago, and he's certainly shown his experience in that opening lap to move up forward. Just having a look, Thomas Culliver down in 16th. He must be involved in some kind of way, and Marcini, who's 15th, and Lucas Lang, who really needs to start fighting back. This was a circuit for his Porsche to really take advantage of the tightness, and unfortunately it hasn't quite gone to plan. So a 27.6 there for Lang on that last lap. That's about half a second off what the leader's set, but he's obviously, he might have took new tyres. You never know if he thinks of the damage. Oh, right over curb, he's pushing hard, maybe a little bit too hard.
Yeah, definitely is trying to fight back. Obviously, he came on the commentary last week and said that he was really looking forward to this. I bet he's cursing himself from saying that now at the moment on a big fight back. But the gap between himself and Thomas Wangen at the moment in P13 is a decent 12 seconds. So he's got a lot of work to try and make up, to try and even get into the top 10 at the moment in this fight. But Mr. really fast and be able to really drive that Porsche really well. Commented on the last 3 rounds, really got the handle of this Porsche. So if anybody could probably try and get the back of the time, it's Lucas Lang. So we'll see how he gets. And big thank you for Colin Charles in the YouTube chat saying Barsadu is pronounced Barsadu, I think. Hopefully that's a correct pronunciation there. Barsadu, I think it is. So thank you for correcting our errors there. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we've said all the way along, if we're getting your name wrong, feel free to tell us, because you know we're lucky we can say our own names. Thibaut Prevot is leading the way. The driver who lost the championship lead last time out is leading the way in the BMW, which commonly is more known for its power in the straight line, but around this tight, twisty circuit, Prevot really has a challenge on his hand. Roger Christensen right behind him, and Rash Olsen going well in that Audi. And look who is in 4th place. Orvid Maivang, who finished 2nd in race 1 of the season, seems to have struggled a little bit since then. Qualified a little bit further down, but took advantage of that chaos at turn 1, and he's only 5 seconds off the lead at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's good to see the single Audi at the moment doing well. A car that's really dropped off favours in the iRacing community on these GT3s. You don't see that many of the Audis driving around, so good to see Ovin Miravang picking up the mantle and Rasholskan picking up the mantle for the Audi driver. And driving that Audi around and doing an exceptional job at the moment. Obviously sticking third, he hasn't moved up, hasn't moved down, pretty much stayed where he started for his qualifying.
Yeah, it's we're looking at Kieran Havertz here. He's out by himself at the moment. He's got past Brian Kroon. Oh, bit of timing glitch there, I think, because he is still on circuit, even though it said out. So that'll be a connection glitch for Kim Havertz. Hopefully he can stay in the race, but you're just looking at the ups and downs in the race. Biggest loser there in the opening 10 minutes is Lucas Lang, as we know from front of grid. Thomas Culliver again, after not making the last race, he really needs the points here today, and he's down in 16th. But here is the battle for 10th with Anders Lear Jordet. Carl Winkler's just got past this group, and Thomas Aarons, who probably came out the pits wondering what on earth is going on here when he came out. Because he came round turn 2 and just saw a train of cars across the circuit and probably had to follow through Kieran Havertz. And 2 of his teammates, Matt Powlett and Carl Winkler, were involved in that action as well. Yeah,
so probably profited quite a lot from actually having that pit lane start at the start of this race, so wasn't involved as he's normally a mid-pack qualifier. Is Thomas Ardens there in 11th place, so starting from the pits was able to avoid a lot of that chaos and make up some good ground on the cars in front of him, as we on board with Thomas Wangen at the moment, looking at the back of Thomas Ardens, of course, in racing one Lamborghini there, followed by a Porsche of Anders Lily Jordet there in 10th place. So nice little battle going on here for 10th overall, but Havaz has got a little bit of work in 6th place to try and catch up to Bonsado there in 5th. There's about 5 seconds he's got to try to make up, so a little bit of gap between 5th and 6th, but at the moment it seems that Theobald Prevot has got the making of this track at the moment, currently in 1st place, moving up 1 place over Christensen, who's in 2nd.
Yeah, that's Aarons and Wangen passing Lily Jordet. Wangen's shown a lot of pace. He pitted at the end of lap 1 from 5th place with that little bit of damage on his front end from the contact with Lang, but he has certainly got some pace here today. He's flying along, setting lap time, the best lap time currently of a 27.4, which isn't far off the leader's pace. So Wangen could still be involved in this race in some way. But back at the front, we have a 7/10 of a second lead. Roger Christensen is back into his stride in that Lamborghini and closing down on the Valkyrie competition car.
Yeah, these two pulling away slightly from Rush Olsen in 3rd place. 2.3 seconds back is the Audi driver. So these two having a little bit of a battle. Christensen just trying to close up that gap ahead to Prevot, who's currently our race leader, 0.7 of a second. Pretty staying stable at the moment, but that Lamborghini is pretty much, as you would call, an all-rounder. It's quite good on the straights, good under braking and corners earlier. But as you were saying with the BMW, not known for the tight, twisty tracks being very good, but obviously Thomas Prevot being the staple Valkyrie competition team that it has, so pretty much knows that car very well and driving it exceptionally well at the moment, managing to keep it slightly ahead, but as we see another 0.2 of a second taken out of his lead there by Christensen, so doing exceptionally well, just trying to get onto the back of him. So I think, like you said, Dave, he's getting into his stride now, Christensen, and it'd be a matter of time where I think he'd be challenging Prevot for that lead.
Yeah, I think also for Prevot, he's got to think of this. I know it's early days in the championship, but he needs to start thinking about the points. Christensen has a 0 on his score, so right now he's not a rival for him, but later on in the year, if Christensen keeps up this form, he will be. So Prevot's in 2 minds. Does he sort of, if Christensen takes a dive, does he really fight it? Or does he sort of go, no, you're going to be a rival, I'm going to keep you back? I'm just trying to think back to actually the last round. Christensen lost a position to Rash Olsen on the final lap, and we don't know if that was sort of team orders or anything like that in the RPC Esports team, because obviously Christensen with a 0 on his score and in the juniors team, and right now he has 2 of his teammates behind him. Is Christensen thinking, I need to get into this lead so my team don't call me off with a couple of laps to go to let Rash Olsen and Miravang back through?
Quite possibly be the case, but I think they were quite battling quite close. But the gap at the moment is about 1.8 seconds between Christensen and Rash Olsen at the moment, between second and third. So Christensen really putting a lot of pressure at the moment over Theobald Prevost in first place there in the BMW. So, you know, doing an exceptional job. But yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the good things with being in the team. You got RPC Esports having 3 main drivers with it, 3 main drivers in this the main team, and then obviously got Roger Christensen in the junior team, although I wouldn't really call him junior. Certainly in the last 2 rounds that he's been doing it, he's been showing the pace of the front runners, and as we can see here again, he's down to around about 0.5 of a second, so getting ever closer to Theobald Prevost in first place. Kevin Havas at the moment in 6th place, so managing to make up that time on Bossardo there in 5th place. So he was about 5 seconds behind, so he's really on a charge. Is Cameron Havas there in 6th place on Bossardo in 5th place. So yeah, he's looking like he's on a bit of a charge here, obviously after starting at the back of the grid and not really making a qualifying time. Seems to be his way. He did that in Red Bull, had a terrible qualifying time as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of an anomaly of his, where he seems to like coming through field, even though he can win from pole. So, I mean, who knows? It's up to him. Lucas Lang has just made his way past Fernando Torres up into 13th. So the Porsche driver is starting to get on the move now, moving up the order. I was just having a look at the order, actually, and thinking, this year we've had a few, as iRacing would call it, aliens, in terms of Prevost, Christensen, Havertz, and then the rest of the field haven't been too far behind, but you really couldn't pick out an order behind them. Lang possibly goes into that alien category, and the rest are just sort of so close that any order could happen in any week.
Yeah, I think the spread of field that we have got in this championship is very close. It all really depends where you start on that qualifying, because if you're down the back end of the grid, you can still be on pace. And if we look at the overall timings for the best timings, it's between a 127 and a 129 at the moment. The majority of the guys on a best lap of a 127, so all the timings are around about the same. But if you're starting at the back of the grid and you've got guys at the front of the grid and you have little tiny pocket battles throughout trying to get yourself up, then it's going to be obvious that the front drivers are going to get away. So I think overall the standard across the field is extremely close. But then you do have the odd one that has that special round that really puts them out on top. And at the moment, Karam Havas is doing exceptionally well, up past Bonsardu there in 6th place and managing to get that 5th, and now has got a charge of around about 6 seconds to Miravang in 4th, but he closed down that gap over Bonsardu there in 6th quite quickly. So see if he can do that, because he'll have free track in front of him. So certainly the man on the charge at the moment, both in the championship and in this race.
Yeah, and Thomas Culliver is in the pit. I don't think he's driven into the pits. I think that may be a tow. I'm not too sure. So he may be out of this race already. But this is an important battle. Thomas Wangan making his way, trying to get past Aaron's in the Course in 1. But in the Teams Championship, Course in 1 racing lead 295 to RPC Esports 255. So it's quite important here for Wangan to start getting through, because he has 3 Course in 1 drivers in front of him. So that's important for him on the team's prospects to get through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other two guys, Russ Olsen and Miravang, are currently in 3rd and 4th. So on the overall stands, I think RBC Esports would be winning out if it finished where it was. But like you said, I think Thomas Wangen does want to try to get in front of the core Sim Racing 1 team. So just to stamp their dominance and to close some of that gap in the championship points. But this gap between Prevost and Christensen is... it's sort of yo-yoing. So Christensen manages to get it down to about 0.5 a second. Then it gets pushed out to 0.7. Then it comes back down. So at the moment, I think Roger just needs to find the bits where he's losing time over Prevost and see what he can. But he's certainly within that slipstream area, so should be getting some benefits, like you said, on the straights in between 2 and 3 and 6 and 7.
Yeah, literally split by 1/100th of a second. So 1/100th of a second between the two drivers' lap times last time out. And Christian seems quick over the first part of the lap, but then Prevost seems to stretch it out in the second half, which I think is just being that little bit neater with the BMW, because as we've said before, and we'll say again, the BMW doesn't really like the twisty stuff. But Prevost is making it work there. You can see at the bottom, on the last lap, it was Prevost who gained the time in Sector 4. So that is the tight and twisty stuff, which goes completely against anything iRacers think about these GT3 cars.
I suppose one of the advantage that the BMW does have over the rest of the field is that it can take curbs a lot better than the other cars. There's a bit more of a suspension travel on that BMW than, say, the Lamborghini behind him. If we saw him going over the same sort of curb, the BMW would be a lot smoother going over that than what the Lamborghini does, which sort of clunks over a corner if it does manage to hit one of them. And as we watch on screen, we can actually see some of these corners are quite severe on the inside of each of the corners. There's quite a high banking on them, as we can see there. You know, so maybe the BMW, if they hit one of them corners, can take it a lot better, because you know, it's a tight, twisty gap, and like you said, you don't have 100% concentration on each lap to get the most out of it. But to be 1/100th of a second difference on the last lap time just shows how close these guys are. So, as you see, a perfect illustration there. Lamborghini going over that, literally bounced, where the BMW just sort of like floats over it. So you will lose a little bit of time, as we can see in the timing tower. It's gone up about another 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, just further back in the field, Thomas Ahrens has fallen to 13th place behind Lucas Lang. He was fighting off Thomas Wangen at one point. We'll just see possibly what happens here. He comes through the tight, twisty section around the fountain. And does he lose the back end? Yes, just loses the back end. Almost blocks the track. Thomas Wangen doing brilliantly to miss it. And oof, just missing the back of, that would be Learjort's Porsche. There goes Lucas Lang, and it's a rejoin for Ahrens, but not the day he was hoping in the Core Sim 1 racing entry.
No, definitely not. I mean, I suppose that's the problem. If you do have a spin in this, you're probably just praying that you end up in the same way that you should be travelling, because if you saw there, he probably lost about 5 to 10 seconds because you had to find a slip road to be able to try and turn him around. Obviously, you couldn't do an Austin Powers 20-point turn on the racing line, but done the right thing there, got off and tried to find a space to move, but lost a lot of time and at quite a few places as well. But very easily done on a track like this. Because I mean, the temperatures are okay. I think it was 20 degrees when we started this session, so the temperature's not too high on track, so they haven't got that to contend with. But with these corners being tight and twisty, being an hour race as well, the wear on the tyres as they get into the latter stages of this race will start to be a little bit more slippy than where they were at the start.
We're now looking at Carl Winkler and Marit Pauluch closing in on the back of Brian Kroon. Brian took advantage of that opening lap, but obviously falling back a little bit with his pace now, but still a top 10 could be possible here today. Karim Havertz has also got past Sodo for 5th place. That was a few laps ago, and he is closing in on Miravang now. The gap between the top 5 is the length of the straight between 2 and 3. This length of the straight, the leader has just gone round turn 3 now. So that shows you that it's not far away. He's roughly about 10 seconds off the lead at the moment, considering he started at the back and had to miss all of that chaos in turn 2.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he hasn't got the fastest lap time, but what we have come to know about Kiram Havas is that he constantly puts in them times, you know, close to his best lap time. So very consistent at his lap. It's almost metronomic in the way that he goes about each lap of each race, and that's really what puts himself on par and above the rest of the drivers, is that he can constantly put in them faster laps, whereas the other drivers around him put in slightly erratic laps. They can put in a really good or really low 127 lap, but the next lap they could be closer to the 128, so it's very inconsistent. But we can sort of see with Karen Hazard's lap that they're all quite close together. So his best lap is a 127.18, his last lap was a 127.5, so within 4/10 of it, whereas the front two at the moment 127.32 and 127.25, whereas the previous lap was a 127.97. So very erratic times that we do, but Karen Mara seems to be sort of the consistent driver within 0.4 of a second of his normal lap time, and that's his ability to be able to drag the time, as we can see him now only 2 seconds behind Miravan in 4th place, and we were looking at about 5 or 6 seconds a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of Sven Newman last season in the BMW, just absolutely metronomic, every lap pushing hard. Sometimes that can be your downfall, as it was in Red Bull Ring for Kerem, just pushing a little bit too hard, maybe not settling for the position he was in on that last lap, but I can't remember it actually being his fault in Red Bull Ring. So certainly I wouldn't rule him out for a victory. My sort of one to watch at the moment, while Christensen is very quick, Rash Olsen is keeping that gap around 2.3 seconds to the lead 2. He's in the Audi, which, I'll be honest, you don't see often sliding about and wearing its tyres down on this very hard concrete surface. You know, it's not like there's little bits of concrete and tarmac and things like that. It is very hard, rough surface here at Detroit, and will make a difference in tyre wear. I'm not saying the drivers will come in and pit and change the tyres, but obviously later on, when some people may have worn theirs down, Rash Olsen could be there with the Audi, just picking up pieces.
Yeah, definitely. I can almost guarantee these guys will not be changing tyres when they start coming in for their pit stops. And obviously that's one thing we haven't talked about around here. I think certainly around this type of track, it's even more important to figure out when you're going to do your pit stop, because if you come out behind slower drivers, you're going to be losing a lot of time trying to get past that driver, whereas if you can sort of angle it that you can get out in clear air and be able to sort of put in your normal fast lap times, then that's going to make a difference. So I think, you know, the pit stops on here, the guys are going to go as far as they can before they even think about pit stopping, because then they'll know that the back markers behind them will have to do the same sort of tactic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this battle now with Brian Kroon, Marek Paulich, Carl Winkler. Kroon is doing a huge favour for all the drivers in front. He's 14 seconds off 6th place, and he's holding up Paulich and Winkler, and it's just leaving a nice little gap, which the leaders will be looking at as a place to pit into. I mean, they'd have to go some now at 27 minutes into the race, 28 minutes in, to make a pit stop and come out in that gap, as Carl Winkler is now, Paulich is having a look around the outside of Kroon to try and get the run. But these Lamborghinis from Corsim Racing are really getting impatient. It's up the inside by Paulich on Kroon. Kroon trying to hang it around the outside, but heading towards the wall. He's still there. And what a move by Brian Kroon to hold it around the outside. Again, he'll be on the outside for turn 1, but he's made it through. And yeah, what a move that is in the Porsche.
Yeah, definitely not known for his speed, but obviously going on the faster outer line, you will be carrying more speed than on the inner line. But obviously the distance travel thing comes into effect. But a great thing, but as we see it at the moment again, Palic trying to come alongside Kroon, and unfortunately, you know, managed to get his cart in front of it there. So as we saw there, Michael Palic managing to get past Brian Kroon for P7, and now Carl Winkler will be looking at trying to do the same. But Brian Kroon having an excellent round, probably his best round he's had so far there in P8. So keep it going, Brian.
Yeah, he's having a great run at the moment, the 94 Porsche for Indy Autosport, but that was certainly a message to Carl Winkler from Pawlic. There you go, that's how you do it next lap, because he's going to have to, because the car of Thomas Wangen is right up behind Carl Winkler now, and it'll be his turn to get through. Wangen, who pitted on the opening lap, will have to still pit again for fuel, but he's back up into the top 10 and driving really well here today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, is he the top of the spinners, or is that Malcolm Palic? I think he's the top of the spinners. Yes.
Yeah, I think Pawlic got involved. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment, the guys that had the spin, obviously, for the viewers that have just joined us, there was a big pile up in the second corner on the opening lap, pretty much blocked off the track, and a lot of the front runners, Lang was involved with that. Michael Pawlic, Thomas Wangen, sort of all involved, and had to make repairs, but managed to make excellent moves at the moment on track, showing their pace. And as we can see, currently battling out there for P7th, which is currently being held by Michael Pawlic.
Yeah, and we saw Carl Winkler having a look on the inside, but he has to defend from Thomas Wangen as well. So it's a eye up front and an eye in the rear view mirror for Carl Winkler. And while before the pit stop start, we will just have a shout out for one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. Virtual Racing School is a data pack company and timing data company for while you're on iRacing. They have 50 plus data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides, data analysis, and they include one-on-one coaching with their membership. So if you want to improve your on-track performance, head over to Virtual Racing School and sign up on their website.
Yeah, definitely great iRacing support package that they do over there, and they can certainly make you. And another one of our sponsors, Apex Racing Academy, that goes directly alongside Virtual Racing School, has 29 plus data packs with setups, and track guides are second to none, literally are really good. Integrated fully with the VRS system, weekly group coaching sessions, plus many more. Head over to apexracingac.com for more information. So they're 2 out of 3 of our main sponsors. But back to this tight battle at the moment. It looks like Michael Palic has managed to get away slightly from Brian Kroon, but they're piling up behind Brian at the moment. Carl Winkler there in P9th. And Thomas Wangen in 10th, just trying to get past. But it was like we were saying at the start, you know, this course is so tight, it's really difficult to try and make a pass around the car. And if you don't make it effectively straight away, it can take you some laps. And we can see Michael Palic now getting a little bit out, as we see Carl Winkler just trying to go around the outside of Brian. I think he's going to manage to get it done. Yes, he does, luckily. And Thomas Wangen's following him through there. So unfortunately, Brian losing 2 places in 2 corners to Carl Winkler and Thomas Wangen. So Brian Kroon currently down in P10. But somebody that's we have our leader that's actually come in the pits. So our leader has in the pits come out of the pits, and at the moment he looks like he's come out in P6th. So that's actually a great pit stop for him. And as like we were saying, he's managed to get that gap where he's got a clean track in front of him and behind him, so can really put some fast laps in. So Roger Christensen, who's currently leading the race, Rash Olsen in second, Miravang in third, really need to try and copy that tactic and not get caught up by cars behind him. But great stop there from Thomas to come out in 6th place in a lot of fresh air between Bonsadu and Michael Palic.
Yeah, that was the gap we were talking about early in the race, and I didn't think they'd be able to do it, but Prevost has. Christensen and Rash Olsen would be able to as well. Miravang maybe not so. So Miravang and Havertz would probably come out just behind Wangen. So they won't want to pit just yet, but Christensen and Rash Olsen haven't pitted either. They are pushing on and pushing on with the light fuel load they'll have. Prevost obviously needing to carry that fuel a little bit longer. And going back to that move, great anticipation by Wangen to see Winkler going through, but Brian Kroon just had no response. But I noticed he sort of picked up his pace once Powlich was in front, and that's something which I find personally on iRacing as well. But if somebody's in front to chase, you can always drive quicker, as Carl Winkler and Brian Kroon head to the pit lane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you've got a faster driver in front of you, 9 times out of 10 it makes you faster, because you almost get pulled along with the way they're going. So, you know, having Thomas Wangen or Carl Winkler in front of you is actually not a bad idea. And he's literally going to be behind Carl Winkler when he comes out to the pits, wherever they may come out. So hopefully come out in a little bit of space. I think they will be at the moment. So the grid's actually, you know, you can see the timings there are split quite all over the field. I wonder if you can get the track map up just to see the positions on the track. So pretty well spread out. I mean, you can see on there, they're not like big long trains of cars. There's lots of little pockets that have appeared on the track that's ideal for the front runners to get in and out within one of them pockets of gaps, whereas if they were all together, that's where it comes a little bit harder to maybe find them gaps. But yeah, cars pretty much spread out across the whole of the track at the moment.
Yeah, and Miravang is in the pit lane, so I thought it was too early for him to fit into that gap, but he has decided to pull the pin and head to the pit lane. That releases Cam Havertz. He falls down to 5th at the moment. Prevost will obviously pass him because he was about 7 seconds behind. I don't think he will have gained that in a couple of laps. There we go. But Marek Powlich pits and Thomas Wangen, so this is massive for the leaders because they know they can now pit with only Bonsodo staying sort of ahead of them while they pit. But we've always seen the Frenchman just go that little bit longer this season, and it looks like he's going to do that again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they always go as far as he can. I mean, we were he led for a long time in Daytona, and he was the last person to pit in that race as well. So we know that he can go quite deep into a race that can Karam Havaz at the moment, and has got the space in front of him to really put in the consistent lap time. So as I was saying before, with the consistency, his lap time was a 1:27.4. So within just over 2 tenths slower than his fastest lap. So if you can put a few of them in, as we see him coming in at the moment, so the top 3 have decided to come into the pits.
To be fair, I think looking at the amount of people in the pits, it's probably not decided. It's probably decided they don't want to run out of fuel as we wait for the Frenchman, Jeremy Bonsodo. He heads to the pit lane as well, but now that's a bit of a surprise because he normally does get that lap or 2 extra out of his fuel, but he is in the pits. We head for a replay. This is Thomas Wangen, and he's right up behind Brian Kroon, yeah. And heading into the... Oh, Wangen went for a move which probably wasn't on, and it's only him who has the issue, shall we say, yeah.
Oh, he did it again. Oh, no.
And this race goes from bad to worse to terrible for Thomas Wangen, which is so disappointing for him because he's had real quick pace here tonight.
Oh, no, obviously making the initial mistake, probably the over-optimistic lunge down the inside, coming off the worst there, but then to rub salt in his wounds as he's trying to get away, spins it again. So, and that's a terrible corner to have it because you've really got to be looking at your timing tower to make sure that there's no cars coming around there. So lost a little bit of time there over Brian Kroon, as you can sort of see. I think, wow, did he lose that much time? I mean, Brian Kroon's is 46 seconds. Thomas Wangen is now 1:39, so literally, wow, that amount of time, about 40-50 seconds he lost on the spin. That's a long time.
Yeah, he had to wait for a few cars to come round as well. But back at the front, as we're looking, Prevost, 2.3 second lead. It's the biggest it's been all race. So that pit stop strategy of pitting early into that gap works perfectly for Valkyrie competition, and they now have a comfortable buffer to Roger Christensen. but the pace Christensen has had since he joined the series, I doubt it's, shall we say, comfortable. There is Arvid Rasch Olsen, the top of the RPC Esports cars, apart from Christensen, who's at the junior side of the squad. And behind them is the Turkish driver, Kerem Havertz, the championship leader, hunting down these cars. He's done Miravang in the pit stops, and I would not put my money on him not challenging Prevost by the end of this race.
Yeah, certainly the lowest pit stop timing of the top 10 is 16.63. The next one was Theobald Prevost to 16.88. The rest of them around about 17.43 to 17.45. So you can see the difference. He gained about a second over two guys in front of him just in the pit stops alone, and that's why now we're seeing him on screen not that far behind the two RPC Esports team members there of Rasch Olsen and Roger Christensen. So he'll soon have them in it. Well, he's got them in his sights. He'll soon be on the back, and they'll sort of have to start defending if they want to try and keep Havas from passing them. So certainly on the charge again is Karel Havas in fourth place.
Yeah, just looking in the YouTube chat, we have RPC Esports let us know that they think it was a fuel-saving issue for Roger Christensen this week, last week, sorry, and that's why he let his teammate through, which means he had a slightly longer pit stop this week. Is that means he's got enough fuel to get to the end, hopefully? We'll see. As you can see, Kerem Havertz 0.7 of a second quicker than Rasch Olsen last time round. He is absolutely on a flyer, and there is the back marker of, is that Marciani or Head? Oh, it's Henrik, I think, just getting out of the way very nicely for everybody. So that is well done by the Hungarian. And also the support for Lucas from Leonard Schnobel. And unfortunately, Lucas is down in 12th place, and not, considering he got fixed on the opening lap, not really recovering at the pace I thought he would probably do so.
No, definitely not. It must be having some long contact, or maybe he got hit in the back, so he has top speed damage in that car. Not really making exactly that. Not really making the ground that we were expecting him to see, but obviously good to see him still out there in P12 going around, and does have Thomas Ardens in front of him for a little bit of company to have a little bit of battle on track. But as we can see now, Kerem Havas is right onto the back now of Rasch Olsen in third place. I mean, we're talking about his consistent lap times. His last lap time was a 1:27.39. The one before that was a 1:27.40. The one before that was a 1:27.41. So consistent on his lap times, and by far at the moment one of the quickest drivers out on track.
Yeah, took another 0.8 of a second out of Rasch Olsen on this lap. I think the Audi of Rasch Olsen is just seeing that Lamborghini getting bigger and bigger in his mirrors, and probably thinking the inevitable. We'll see whether he fights once the Turkish driver gets there. I think he will, because obviously it will help his teammate Roger Christensen, even if Havertz gets past. But Prevost, 3 seconds in the lead now. The former championship leader, consistently in the top 2 this season, and just cruising away at the moment. Only Havertz seems to, I don't know what's happened for Christensen since the pit stop, but he just doesn't seem to have the pace in the second half of the race.
No, it's in, or the other hand is Theobald Prevost decided, do you know what, I'm going to put the hammer down now to try and get that gap, and has managed to get himself out of the slipstream effect that Roger would have had over him. Has now broken that, and therefore he's just trying to extend that lead further out. So great couple of laps from Theobald Prevost. I mean, if you look at the lap times, they're not massively. 1:27.69 for the last lap, 1:27.97 for Roger. So, you know, about 0.3 slower on that last lap than Theobald in first place.
Yeah, the top 3 all covered by 0.3 of a second on that last lap. So it sort of stumped Havertz's progress just a little bit, but maybe Prevost's seen that Havertz is coming through the field and wants to scamper away in case he gets up in second place. So he's got the least amount of time to have to defend from him, because the pace he's running at and the way he's come through the field today, just makes you think that he's going to be challenging for the lead at some point, but he only has 16 minutes remaining of this race to make that sort of dream come true, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably in his own mind now, he's probably thinking the best I can do in this race is P2. So obviously you can see P2 in his view at the moment. He's probably got a timing tower to tell him that Prevot is about 3.5 seconds up the road from him. But what he needs to do now is just concentrate on the battle in front of him and try and effectively get past Ras Olsken as quickly as physically possible, because it is hurting his lap times. I think that was the first lap time I've seen him in a 1:27.62. You know, and that's because Ras Olsken in front of him is doing a 1:27.71, so it's a lot slower than the laps that he was doing. So sort of holding him up slightly, which is obviously giving Prevot more of an opportunity to extend that gap, and it seems to be extending every single lap at the moment. So the two RPC Esports guys in front of him currently holding up Havas, but that's well within their rights to do. They are in front, fighting for position in second and third, and they're not going to give Havas it on a plate. He's going to have to really work at it if he wants to take them positions.
Rash Olsen going full Gandalf and saying, "You thou shall not pass." Get down into turn 3, so he will be looking to continue that throughout the rest of these 15 minutes remaining. And while we add to that, you can see our layout on the screen. That comes from SDK Gaming, our final sponsor of the GT3 Pro Trophy. You can add a virtual live HUD to your iRacing while you're racing, or if you're streaming. Show timing towers, enhanced relative boxes, mini maps, fuel calculators, and it fires off to Twitch, so you can have the stream on there. And if you have a series, you can merge your commentators like we do with Lewis, myself and Andy, and create a system where we can all see the same thing at once, so we all know what we're talking about. So what Andy sees on screen is the same as I see on screen, which is a massive Lamborghini staring at the back of Rash Olsen. You can adjust your team strategy as you do so, and that will help with the sort of fuel and that, and bring in your own camera views. So there's plenty of things that you can do with SDK Gaming. So head over to their website and have a look there, and you too can have this TV style on your stream.
Yeah, that's stk-gaming.co.uk is their website. So head over to there. Excellent bits of kit, obviously used on every single Apex Racing TV racing league here. So it's going to be half decent if we use it. So there you go, head over. And I think you get a 14-day free trial as well, Dave. So the added bonus of trying before you buy. So just head over there and see what they can do. But Havas at the moment, Ras Olsken doing a fantastic job in that Audi of just holding up Havas at the moment. It's probably the perfect track to try and do it, because there's very limited amount of spaces, and you've really got to be optimistic to try and make a move, as we've seen some good moves and some pretty terrible moves throughout this race from certain drivers. So, you know, Havas at the moment has done a cracking job, up 13 places from where he started, which was the back of the grid, currently up in 4th place. So does he feel that he wants to put that auto in end by having a silly incident to try and make the move, or does he want to? So, I mean, that's the mindset that Kerem is currently in at the moment. I mean, but one guy that certainly has got no issues at the moment is our first place guy, Leonard Prevot, in first, just extending that lead out over Roger Christensen, 4.5 seconds at the moment. So extending that lead lap after lap, and pretty much got a clear track in front of him. Only 12 minutes left of this race, so it's certainly his to lose at the moment. But that battle for that second place position with the two RPC Esports guys and Kiram Havas, a privateer, in 4th place is going to go all the way to the end of this race.
Yeah, this battle for second place will keep going. Well, we'll talk about the sponsors. Sandro Marcini headed to the pit and is out of this race. So we have 3 retirements in Marcini, Ferrer and Culliver. So that is 3 of them out. 15 still running. Fernando Torres and David Henrik at the back, 1 lap down, and Thomas Wangen in 13th, last driver on the lead lap. But he's still in touching distance of the top 10, so the battles are all very close together still.
Yeah, so probably one for you, Leonard Sherbo, as obviously he's saying, come on, Lucas, in our YouTube chat. Still in a fighting chance of getting that P10, only about 2 seconds behind the P10. At the moment, there's got Anders Lindjordet in front of him in 11th place that he can see at the moment. So still has that opportunity to get that top 10, but I think that's probably going to be round about it, or the maximum target that Lucas can do in this round. Certainly after that terrible lap 1 into turn 2 has really put paid to his momentum tonight, and I think it's probably just affected him a little bit to try and get that speed back into that Porsche. We see still quite a lot of damage on there, so maybe has done a bit of wall surfing in the meantime as well, but great recovery and still an opportunity for him to get to P10.
Yeah, he's still trying to fight for them top positions, because even though this might be his drop score, you want that to be as high as possible just in case you have to use it. Just looking at the lap times, actually, everybody generally, apart from Marek Paulich, who's just set his fastest lap of the race, seem to be about half a second slower than their fastest. So obviously the tyres are just wearing down a little bit. Drivers are not pushing so hard because it's getting towards the end and they don't want to end up in a wall now. But here's Carl Winkler with Marek Paulich, and these two have been glued together all season, so closely matched. And every race, well, I feel like every time we see a course sim racing driver, there's another one right behind him.
It's like the Borg, isn't it? I think with course sim racing, they are all in tune together. It's like watching a display team going around a track with the course sim racing guys. It's so mesmerizing just to watch them riding around the track together in perfect unison. Always great team, but they are always extremely close to one another. Obviously, Thomas Ardens at the moment has got Brian Kroon from messing up the complete overlay picture of the core racing Sim 1 team all together in flying formation. But Brian Kroon has done an exceptional job. Obviously, normally a GTE driver, we normally see him in the GTE Championship and does very well in that, but trying his hand at the GT3, not seen him for a while, so dipping his toes back into iRacing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people, unless you've driven both GTE and GT3 a lot, you would not believe how different they are to try and drive. I mean, they're quite similar cars, but they do take, you know, GT3s are a lot more stable, I find, and a lot more user-friendly than GTEs until you get setups on them, and then the GTEs come into their own. But this is Thomas Wangen again. Is he going to attack Lucas Lang? Doesn't look like it. Oh, and he's hit the wall, and he's into the tyre wall on the outside. And yeah, I know I said it was getting bad to worse for Wangen, but it's just got even worse. It's just clips a barrier on the inside and he's into a wall.
Yeah, not having the best of races is Thomas Wangen. We see that from RPC Esports, so they must do heavily practice sessions on the usual tracks on iRacing, but it's the anomaly ones that probably catches quite a few drivers out, because I don't think this is an iRacing track of choice of drivers would be asking for if they were to make their own season. So I don't think it'll get into the top 10, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's still a great circuit, and I'm sure Timo Prevost is not complaining. He is 3.7 seconds in the lead from Christensen. Christensen has stretched away from Rash Olsen a little bit, and the charge of Kim Havertz seems to have stalled behind Rash Olsen. Rash Olsen defended once down into turn 3, but apart from that, has seemed pretty comfortable in front of the Turkish driver.
Yeah, Racer called Ben on the YouTube chat. Is this the Porsche Cup? Obviously, I know we're used to seeing Christensen in there, but no, believe it or not, he's driving around in a GT3 car and currently doing exceptionally well in P2. So you have joined a GT3 race, not a Porsche race there, a racing called Ben. So yeah, definitely. And obviously some support for Lucas there over M and Gordon, saying that Lucas can catch him. So a lot of support for Lucas at the moment out on track. Are German down there in P12. So fortunate start of the race for him, as we've been saying. But not all end, and exactly like you said, you want to try to get your drop score as high as possibly, because you don't want to be relying on that as your drop score, because you could have a lower scoring later on, and then you'd be relying heavily on this. Thomas Wangen?
Yeah, it does look like. Sorry, go on.
I don't know if Thomas Wangen's crashed again, has he? I'm just looking at the incidents, and I can just see him on there. Or was that the one?
I'm sure if he has, Louis can have a look.
I'm sure.
But
it was the one. So no more incidents out on track from the last time.
I don't think he's got any more time to have any more incidents. It's just been for somebody who had a huge amount of pace in practice and qualifying, and in the race he was coming back through nicely. It just didn't go well from turn 1 for Thomas Wangen. So the Norwegian, one of 5 Norwegians in this race, and actually the last one of the 5 at this moment in time, because Anders Lear Jordet doing a great job in his Porsche for Team Vikings, up in 11th place, and this possibly might be Lear Jordet's best result of the season.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I am noticing is the time between Christensen and Prevot in first place is coming down now. It's only 3.2 seconds. It was 4.6 seconds earlier on. So that gap between first and second, although there's only 4 minutes, just over 4 minutes left to go in this race, might not be enough. But Christian certainly on the last charge in the last 5 minutes of this race, getting a little bit of a gap over Ocean. And I think exactly like you say with Havas, he sort of said, you know what, I'll stick with the 4th place here, good position, good points, and I'll wait for next round at the moment.
Yeah, he's just gone past and lapped Thomas Wangen, I believe. So that is why you can see a RPC Esports team car quite close behind Havertz, but Mirvang is another 5 seconds back from the Lamborghini. But yeah, Christensen closing the gap, but I think it's Prevot just easing it off. His last lap time was a 28.0 compared to a 27.8, so he'll just be easing it off and trying to bring it home now. Maybe just saving a little bit of fuel if he went a bit shorter on the pit stop. We are now watching Rogers Christensen in the Lamborghini. He's in 2nd place. And Rash Olsen not far behind. So with Christensen showing this pace and Rash Olsen sitting, I think he's in the top 5 of the championship. No, he's 8th in the championship at the moment. But we've got 4th last time out. Could we see a swap between these 2 drivers if Rash Olsen is closing up on Christensen?
I mean, that's the advantages of having your teammates. Obviously, Christian taking that corner quite hard there, but that's the advantage of having teammates within a race and working together as a team. You know, it makes sort of sense that Ras Ocean takes that 2nd place because that's more points for him. But it depends on you know, what are the aspirations of Roger Christensen? Where does he want to finish this championship? Obviously, at a bit of a disadvantage because he missed the first 2 rounds, so obviously can have a 1 drop score of a nil point like UK in the Eurovisions, but they can't exactly do it twice, so he's at a disadvantage to the rest of the field, where he's going to have that permanent 0 on his record for race number 2. So has got a big mountain to climb to try and get up to the positions, but at the moment his teammate Ras Olsen there in 3rd place, like you were saying, in P8. Getting another P2 in this race will rocket him up them championship standings. So to me it would make sense that they do sort of like change over positions, but we'll see what happens towards the right at the end of this race of what they decide to do.
Yeah, I think if they do so, it's obviously clear what Christensen is in the championship for. And if they don't, then obviously Roger Christensen has his chance to move up because there's prizes for the top 10 in this championship. So you know, the RPC Esports team could get 4 drivers in the top 10 of the championship, and that would be an amazing achievement. So we now look at Marek Paulich holding off Carl Winkler, his teammate. We may as well stick these two in the same car. They're so close. You know, just put a passenger seat in Paulich's car, and they can both score the same points, because it would save a lot of fuel and car damage, wouldn't it?
It would. It certainly would. I mean, they are sort of like joined together with some sort of invisible cord. These two drivers, of Paulich and Winkler, both exceptionally fast drivers. Seen them in lots of other championships, and great set of guys, and a really nice team as well. So, you know, it's good to see them guys coming out and supporting the series again, as they do every single series. So yeah, it's nice to have them back out and to see them doing so well and join together at the hip, as we would say, on the majority of the rounds.
Yeah, we have Thomas Wangen, who is out the race now, and he's, unfortunately, if he'd done one more lap, he would have scored points, but he's actually 2 laps down now, so I'm not sure inside rules he actually scores points, which is disappointing after what has been a very tough day for a Norwegian. But here is Prevost. He is on his white flag lap. He's almost completed his white flag lap. Torres is in the pits with 1 lap to go, which doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but here is Prevost. This is Torres touring in. I think he's ran out of fuel by the looks of it.
Oh, that was crabbing
yeah,
the car.
Looking at that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh,
well done, Fernando. That was a great way to get out of, you know, he did not want to go through that corner with those following, but Thibaut Prevost, he has dominated this race after taking pole position, and he is now coming round towards the end of the lap. He might even be there as we come off the replay. There he is through turn 1. Thibaut Prevost, the Valkyrie competition, has took the win here at Belle. Rash Olsen takes 2nd place from Christensen on the final lap. Teammates obviously working together. Yeah, we saw that one coming, but that's important for the rest of the season. I think everybody else will realise now, right, Christensen, he's quick, and if he has one of the RPC Esports, I'll get it out in a minute, cars behind him, he will be playing the team game, but he will also be looking for victories this season because he is extremely quick. Havertz, the championship leader, or then championship leader, is in 4th, but he will drop behind Prevost in the championship now. Miravang back with a very strong 5th. That was an impressive drive by the Norwegian. Bonsodo in 6th. Consistent as always. Paulich and Winkler, as we said, glued together in 7th and 8th. Brian Kroon, season's best, and a strong drive, just holding off traffic all day long in 9th. Thomas Ahrens, after his spin, gets up into 10th. Leodor Jet and Lucas Lang round off the finishers as David Henry ends 1 lap down, and Fernando Torres 2 laps down after that crabbing car. As we now see Rash Olsen, this is, yeah, definitely team tactics, because there is Christensen pulling to the side on the run to the line. There goes Rash Olsen, and if that's not team tactics, I think they took one out of Ferrari's book there.
Certainly did, but like you said, it's well within the rules for them to do so, and that's what they decided to do. So yeah, definitely they can do that, and like you said, Christensen added a disadvantage that he missed them 2 runs. It would have been really interesting to see him race in the first 2 rounds, but obviously he must have had prior commitments or decided to want to join it. But we'll quickly go over the race results for here at Detroit. So in first place here, Prevost, commanding performance there, 5.5 seconds ahead of Rash Olsen at the end of that race. Roger Christensen made it a little bit sweaty there for Theo Prevost in front of him for the first half of the race, but after the round of pit stops, it seemed that Prevost really put down the hammer on him. Kieran Havas, a great recovery from the back of the grid, getting to 4th place overall. Got a bit stalled behind the RPC Esports guys for in 3rd place for Rash Olsen, but decided to stick there in 4th place. other than Miravang in 5th place, Jerry Bonsado in 6th, Malcolm Palic and Carl Winkler in 7th and 8th. Brian Green, like I said, his best round so far in the season in 8th in the Porsche. Tom Arens in 10th, Anders Lily Jordet in 11th. Lucas Lang, disappointing race for him. I wonder if he'll come in a commentary box and just give us a little bit of an explanation of what happened there in lap 1, turn number 2. But that sort of put paid to his races a little bit there, which is unfortunate for him after high expectations for himself in this round. David Hendrick there in 13th. Fernando Torres, who we don't really talk about Fernando. You know, he's here every single round religiously. He's not the quickest guy on track, but I've got to commend the guy for, you know, like coming for every round, getting the experience level for him, and, you know, a great result for him. P14th in the championship, 2 laps down, but he always digs in. So big shout out to Fernando Torres. Keep it going, mate. In 15th, Thomas Wangan. I did see on the YouTube chat, he said he was disqualified from the race, which is a bit unfortunate for Thomas in 15th place. Didn't have the best of races today. Got caught up in that lap 1 incident, and then had a couple of spins throughout the race. Sandro Marcini, 16 lap down. Darren Ferrer out early on, and Thomas Kova as well out early on. A couple of incidents, had a hefty, obviously, repair time, so decided to not continue. And that rounds out our 18-car grid here at Detroit.
Yeah, and we have a few drivers who have actually come to talk to us. Obviously, they've heard we do not bite. So the first person we will have into the chat is Roger Christensen. Roger, a great performance by yourself coming in late to this championship and a 3rd place for you.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. Didn't believe at all that I was able to get some pace in the GT3 car. So yeah, quite surprised.
I've got to ask the question because we asked it in the chat and they said last week it was possibly a bit of a fuel saving issue. Have you been brought in to help the team and that's why you let Raskolstrom past at the end?
I had a small crash in the wall some laps before the end, and he came quite fast in the end. But yeah, I'm just in the junior team, so let the big guys get the team points.
Understandable. And you've come into a championship. You missed a round. Obviously, you got a couple of rounds. You got 0 on your score. What's sort of your ambitions for this year? Because you were very quick, looking almost for race wins in the first 2 rounds you've done. So, are you looking just for a top 10 in the championship, or is it experience you're getting for sort of next season?
I don't really know. Before last race, I haven't. Don't think I had raced GT3s for over a year, and yeah, I just need some experience and having some fun with the guys. That's all. Nothing. Don't have any big goals for this season. Just want to gain some experience in the car and have some fun with the guys.
So, I presume from that you'll be doing the rest of the season. If you are, is there any circuits you're really looking forward to?
I don't know. I don't know what track's coming up. So
We've got Spa next, so you can comment on that if you want.
yeah, I think that should be okay. I know the track from other cars, so should be okay. But yeah, everyone knows that track, so everyone's gonna be fast. So I don't have no big expectations for it, and I don't know how the Lamborghini is at Spa, so we'll see. I will probably just show up and do my best, have some fun.
Well, that's the main aim of it all. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I really need to give a shout out to Odin Mirvang, my teammate, and of course the rest of the team and the guys racing with me today, and my family, my kids, and Lisa, my girlfriend. And Racing Performance Center, our partner and reason why we're running RPC Esports.
Okay, and congratulations on your podium, and we'll see you next week in Spa then.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Roger Christensen, the driver who finished third in the race.
We're
I think
definitely,
that,
we've got the race winner in, I think, Dave.
Yeah.
We've got
Yeah.
our race winner in the waiting area. So without further ado, we'll bring him in to the commentary box. So welcome, Theobald Prevost. A great race for yourself, mate. Obviously, got in front of Christensen within the first couple of corners at the start of the race, but then managed to keep your car out in front. How did you feel that race went for yourself?
Honestly, it went great. Didn't think I would manage to finish it because it's a street track, and I don't think I've ever finished a street race. So it went great. Thank you for the fast repair as well.
Oh yeah, we do try to help the drivers out the best we can. Obviously, the first half of the race is really a story of two halves. The first half, you had Roger Christensen like quite hot on your tail, around about 0.5 to 0.6 of a tail. Were you conscious of the fact that he was right on your tail, and were you trying to be a little bit defensive or trying to save a bit of tyres? Because we saw you in the second half after the pit stops, where you came in slightly earlier, and then did you decide to push on after the round of pit stops because you managed to get a decent gap after that?
Honestly, I was pushing the whole race, just waiting for him to do a mistake. And then I had to pit because I hit the wall and I had damage. So I pitted like 6 laps earlier than I should have. And yeah, I don't know. Everyone else took so much more time in the pit stop somehow, and I came like 2 seconds ahead. So yeah.
I mean, that's a stroke of luck that you did actually hit the wall, because we were commentating on in the stream that you had come in and it was a master stroke, because where you came out was in such a pocket that you had nobody in front of you, nobody behind you, so you could cut some really good laps. So we were just like saying he's probably got an excellent spotter or a great.
No.
It was pretty much you hit the wall.
yeah. I just hit the wall, had a bent wheel, so I had to come in.
Oh wow!
And
Okay.
was lucky on the pit exit to not have anyone in like ahead or behind me.
All right. So luckily, it was probably more towards the end of the lap. So that was lucky for yourself there.
Yeah.
But no, a great race, and obviously in the championship, you've got a real fight on your hands at the moment. You'll probably take back the first position in the championship after this round. Kieran have as your main rival at the moment, to finish fourth in that race from the back of the field, but seems to be a very strong driver. And do you feel that he's your main championship rival for this championship?
Yeah, for sure. He was pretty insane again today. I was so scared that he would catch up. But yeah, he's gonna be definitely the main rival, I would say. And for the next tracks, it's gonna be hard again because he has a really good car.
He does, but we got talking about the next car. We've obviously got Spa next, but that should suit the BMW slightly better than the Lambo, don't you think?
I don't know. Maybe not. I think it's gonna be close, but maybe they are gonna be better on tires. So I don't know.
But it's certainly giving us great viewing here on Apex Racing TV, and it's going to be a mammoth battle between the two of you, it seems, at this very early stage of the championship, and it's going to give us some great rounds to look forward to. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course, my whole team, Valkyrie, doing mega job. Like, I've never been that fast, and it's just because of them. So yeah, really thankful. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, congratulations on your second first place in the championship so far. Or is it your first? No, it's your first one, isn't it?
Second, I think.
Second, I think it's your second one, yeah. Congratulations on your second one, and obviously winning the Daytona round here. And we look forward to seeing you out in Spa and watching this championship battle rage on between yourself and Kieran. So good luck for the next round.
Thank you very much.
There was Theobald Prevost, our winner here at Detroit. I think we might have time for a quick one more with the teammate, Rash Olsen, of RPC Esports. So over to yourself, Dave.
Orvin, a second place here today. Your championship has really kick-started in the last 2 rounds. Has there been any changes from the first 2 rounds, or was it just that you had some bad luck in the first 2 rounds?
Biggest change is that I went back to the R8. That's been my car for like 2 years now, and I felt home right away. That's the main thing that made this turnaround, I think.
And yeah, you've shown tremendous pace since you've got it, a 4th and a 2nd. It's really boosted the RPC team as a whole, and also the bringing in Roger Christensen into the fold has really helped strengthen the team near the front of the field.
Yeah, Roger is quite unique. He's really good in the 992 Cup car, and he can just drop into any car and then just make it happen in very little practice. And he pushes us on the practices, and yeah, he's a really good guy to have on the team, and yeah, he's tremendous.
Yeah, he seems like a great team player. So the next round is Spa. Do you know sort of how the Audi is around Spa? I personally don't. So is it something that a car that enjoys that kind of circuit?
I don't know. It's quite a fast track, and on Daytona the car worked real well. I believe I can do good. That's a track I like more than this one. This track I started practicing on Sunday for the first time. So, and Spa is, yeah, but still, there's many people that's fast at Spa. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and also having 4 drivers in the team now who can compare into the setups and things like that. Obviously, you're in a different car to they are, but the setup could be quite similar and things like that. Obviously, you could talk through it. Is that a huge advantage against somebody, say, like Prevost, who has only got himself in the race?
Yeah, I think that's a huge. Also, I think because we can push each other on the practices every time, and if you practice alone and you feel quite comfortable and you're happy with your pace, and then someone like Roger or Thomas or Odin shows up, and it's like, oh, half a second faster, so now I have to push again. So I think that's really healthy to have someone that can push you all the way, all the time, and we practice a lot to hunt each other down and try passing and everything. So yeah, the team is good. It's good fun, and it's I learn a lot being with those guys.
Yeah, you seem to be improving every round, and hopefully that first win of the season will come very, very soon. Before we let you go, have you got anybody you want to give thanks to or shout out to?
I just have to thank RPC Esports, my teammates. They helped me a lot, and yeah, I just enjoy driving, and with those guys, it's even better. So I want to thank them.
Okay, Orvid Rask Olsen, second place in this race. Well done, and we'll see you in Spa.
Yes, we see you. Thank you.
So that was your second place driver, Orvid Rask Olsen. And I don't know if you agree with me, Andy, but that RPC esports team seems to be gelling really well together and sort of making sure that there's no stone unturned.
I mean, that's the great thing of being in a team environment, is that you always push each other on to be the best that you possibly can do, and that's certainly what we've been seeing here in the current opening 4 rounds of the championship. Is the RPC Esports time. You can see it on the YouTube channel as well, that the guys there are fully supporting them, so they can feel a part of that bigger thing than just themselves, the team aspect of it. And as you saw there with Owen, he was basically saying that, you know, if one of his teammates is doing half a second faster lap time, it pushes him on to do that half a second lap time. So I think that's where you get the best out of the drivers around you. Certainly if you're in a team environment, you want to do it for the team as well. So yeah, it certainly seems to be gelling really well, the RPC esports teams.
Yeah, the team really going well and possibly leading the team's championship now, or at least close to it. But I think that is possibly all we have time for here tonight. We want to thank all the drivers, obviously, for taking part, and everybody in the chat for joining in. And I've been David Whitehouse, he's been Andy Thompson, and we've had Lewis Arai on the production all night, bringing us great replays. And we will see you in Spa, the familiar Spa circuit, in 2 weeks' time. In 1 week time, sorry. 2 weeks? Why did I say 2 weeks? No, 1 week's time. Next week at Spa in Belgium. We're going to go off early and find some Belgian chocolates. Goodbye.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze and replicate. Datapacks also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.